Welcome back to the Teaching Conversation video series. Today we are going to learn how to find and edit a conversation transcript for the purpose of teaching natural conversation in an ESL classroom. Hello, my name is Susan Shostak, and this is Cookies on the Bottom Shelf, Making the Complex Simple. Let's get started. When looking for a recorded conversation to use as an example in your classroom, there are a few things you might consider as you start your search. There's a difference between the give and take of a naturally occurring conversation and the prepared ahead of time question and answer of an interview. There's nothing wrong with using a recording of an interview in your ESL class as long as you teach it as an interview and not as a regular conversation. Sometimes we go looking for a recorded conversation and find exactly the right thing and exactly the right topic, etc., etc. But that is rare. We will have far less frustration in our preparation if we find something interesting and then build a lesson around that. As you create resources, start a digital library of your work. This way, you'll more likely be able to find a resource to match your plan out of your own archive. You'll be surprised at how many conversational features are contained in a very short bit of natural talk. We'll talk about the length of recording that you choose later in this video. The more practice you get with using recorded conversations and transcripts, the better able you'll be to gauge how much your students can handle in a lesson. Two-party conversations are much easier to find and edit than multi-party conversations. However, our students generally need more help following multi-party conversations. So it's a good idea to find one and develop it into a resource. Your work will pay big dividends for your students' communicative competence, and you'll have a valuable resource that you can use again and again. Naturally occurring conversation has all the good, the bad, and the ugly of real-life talk. You will need to assess the needs of your students, their maturity, and the language proficiency of your students when determining if a recording is the right thing. The perfect conversation and transcript only exists as it is perfect for helping you create a useful and productive resource for your students. I am going to take you through the process of finding a resource and then editing that for classroom use. We're heading now over to the Santa Barbara Corpus of Spoken American English. At this site, you can find 60 recordings of naturally occurring talk. Most are conversations, but not all. Scroll down and you'll see the list of recordings with their accompanying transcripts. For today's example, I have chosen this one, Letter of Concern. I chose this one because there are two very distinct voices in the recording, and the two men are members of a board of directors for a local arts group. The business-related nature of their talk would lend itself to a unit on business communication. When I choose the conversation, I'll right-click on that so that I get a new tab, and I'll right-click again on the text and show you this is what we find. To edit this text, I would first determine which part of the text, which part of the transcript I want to use. Obviously, you'll need to listen to the recording. You can right-click on the MP3. This will open in a new tab.
Anyways, back to the first thing, what we were talking about was...
I've got to pick up Pat. I dropped her off at the bookkeeper.
I would prefer that you were there on one hand because I think that it would be most expedient.
So you can do that for each one of these and determine which one is going to be the best choice for your needs for your class. This is the finished product ready to be used in a lesson plan. As you can see, I have replaced the timestamps on the left with line numbers, making it easier to lead my students through some conversation analysis. And I've removed quite a lot of the labeling conventions that are included in the Santa Barbara corpus. Those transcripts could be used by people who are doing a much more careful analysis than we would be doing in the ESL classroom. So I've kept the overlap, and I've kept some of the hesitation. So the dots here showing that there's some hesitation. And I've also included some all caps to show that this particular talk was in a louder voice. Another amazing resource for finding recorded conversations and transcripts is YouTube. YouTube provides the widest variety of recorded conversations. Certainly the widest variety of different types of English, different dialects of English, and so forth. I have 5 examples here that I've looked at and thought these might be interesting recordings and transcripts to use in an adult ESL class. We have a cooking show, a candid conversation between 2 young men in a car. We have a young man who secretly recorded his McDonald's job interview. We have a dating coach sort of matchmaker with her co-host and the discussion they have there. And then we have a YouTube channel that focuses on English for people who are learning English as a second language. But in this case, she has an 1.5 hour long English conversation with her husband. And so any of these might be good examples, and there's loads more that you could find on your own. Here on YouTube, I'm going to show you where to find the transcript. This is our video that we've chosen. This is the cooking show. And as the video is playing, you come down to the 3-dot ellipsis, click there, and then click on Open Transcript, and you'll see the transcript to the right. You'll notice that it looks very different from what we got from the Santa Barbara Corpus site. There are no speaker assignments, only timestamps. You can take away the timestamps if that works better for you. I prefer them. So when you have watched the video and decided that you know which piece of talk you want to choose, you would come here to the transcript. You could certainly copy and paste all of it. Let's see. I might want just this portion. This is about 30 seconds. And then I can paste that into a Word document and do all of my edits. Now, obviously, I'm going to have to edit to assign speakers and then put in the overlap and any other types of labeling conventions I would like to add. This is what my finished transcript looks like from the YouTube video. I kept the time stamp so I know exactly where to find it when I'm teaching my class. I've labeled my speakers. I've listened to it a number of times, so I found some overlap and that sort of thing. So it's certainly a lot cleaner than the corpus, or than the Santa Barbara corpus transcript. And we also have the video so that students can see the nonverbal communication. So I actually really like the getting a transcript from YouTube, although I think either one is going to be very beneficial. It took me about 15 or 20 minutes to edit this bit. You do have to go back and listen to the talk a number of times, but because most of the transcript has already been created for you, you're not having to work from scratch to type it all out. The answer to this question, of course, is yes. You can record conversation and create your own transcripts. Creating a transcript from scratch is more time-consuming than most busy teachers I know would be able to deal with. So I'll show you a couple of apps that create the transcripts for you. But before I do, here are some important considerations. So getting permission before recording, obviously a very good idea. Depending on the laws where you live, you may be required to do that. You may not, but you certainly don't want to become that person who goes around recording people. And if you do set up a recording, you have to ask people for permission and so forth. Generally, that the beginning of the conversation might be talking about being recorded while having a conversation. That's fine because it's conversation. And as soon as we start talking to one another, we're having conversation. So that's a good thing. What's not a good thing is trying to follow a script. If you try to script out something or try to tell people what you want them to say, you've kind of missed the point of recording naturally occurring conversation. So scripts, not so good. When and where you do the recording does make a difference. You certainly don't want a lot of background noise, and you also don't want multiple conversations going on simultaneously. Those kinds of things can make your audio recording useless. If you can record both audio and video, obviously that's a plus. But for most of us using our smartphones, we may just get an audio recording, and that's okay. As I mentioned, there are some apps that help us create transcripts that can be a great time saver. Even with those, though, you will have to do editing. There are amazing things that apps can do, that artificial intelligence and voice-to-text apps can do for us, but there will still be editing that has to be done. Okay, so a few apps that create recordings and transcripts here. Microsoft Word on Office 365 Premium. That is the web-based version only. I also looked at Otter AI and Sonics AI. I found that Microsoft Word app to be the easiest to use. Sonics is the most expensive of the three. They sell access by the hour, but you can try it out for 30 minutes for free. And they do have some nice educator discounts. Otter AI is the cheapest at about $5 per month, and your school may already provide you with access to the premium version of Office 365. That's the app I'm going to actually show us here today. I am in the web-based version of the Office 365 account provided to me by my school. To get the transcription app, I would just go here to where it says Dictate. I would click on the drop-down menu and then click on Transcribe. This opens a pane on the right side here. I've got two options: start recording or upload audio. It takes a number of audio files, and once you get that uploaded, you can just click another button to say produce the transcript. You can also record straight away from here through the microphone on your computer. My office mate and I did this. We pushed start recording and we recorded ourselves having a conversation. Unfortunately, I don't have that to show you. I will say that it did assign speakers, speaker 1, speaker 2, and then we could label it from there. You know, speaker 1 is Susan, speaker 2 is Julia. It wasn't 100% accurate, and voice to text technology is not always going to be 100% accurate with words that it chooses in the course of making the transcript. So there will still be editing, and certainly there'll be editing for things like overlap and intonation and how loud someone is speaking and that kind of thing. Also, watch out for settings on any of these apps. Watch out for settings that automatically edit out hesitation devices like and Some of the transcription software out there, a lot of it is for purposes other than to analyze conversation. So be on the lookout for settings that actually could make it harder to do what you need the software to do. In our next video, I will show you a lesson planning framework for incorporating recorded conversations and transcripts into your ESL instruction, and I will provide a sample lesson plan to help you get started.